because the DOJ is doubling down on a claim that medical marijuana patients endanger public safety if they own guns. The Justice Department's doubling down on its position that medical marijuana patients who possess firearms endanger public safety, pose a greater risk of suicide, and are more likely to commit crimes to fund their drug habit, justifying in the government's eyes, a federal ban on gun ownership by cannabis consumers. Following a U.S. Supreme Court ruling last month that upheld the constitutionality of government setting certain gun restrictions in a case centered around domestic violence-related prohibitions, the justices remanded a pending cannabis and Second Amendment rights case back to the lower court for reconsideration. God, we passed the buck so much. Late last week, plaintiffs and DOJ submitted briefs in a separate case that responded to the potential implications of the High Court's latest decision for the federal statute barring gun ownership by cannabis consumers. In the filing submitted to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit, DOJ urged the panel to affirm an initial district court ruling that deemed the cannabis and firearms ban to be constitutional, while appellants are requesting a reversal of the order. This is the latest development in the two-year case, with a group of Florida medical cannabis patients arguing that their Second Amendment rights are being violated because they cannot lawfully buy firearms so long as they are using cannabis as medicine, despite acting in compliance with state law. Former Florida Agricultural Commissioner Nikki Fried, who now serves as a chairwoman of the Florida Democratic Party, first raised a lawsuit against DOJ in 2022 in her capacity as state official. She's no longer party to the lawsuit since leaving office, and her GOP successor has declined to get involved. In the background of this case, voters in the state are set to decide on a broader recreational marijuana legalization initiative on the ballot in November. I'm failing. This is a long article, and I just scrolled all the way to the end of it. We're not in danger of shooting people, but we are in danger of scrolling to the wrong place. Keep going.
That's how you became a Republican?
There we go. Armed drug users endanger the public in multiple ways, the Justice Department said in its new filing in the cannabis and guns case, adding that the Supreme Court ruling in the United States versus Rahimi, demonstrated that the governments are afforded significant leeway to enact firearms regulations. Individuals who possess firearms while engaged in regular use of illegal drugs endanger public safety in multiple ways. First, drug users may mishandle firearms or use firearms to commit crimes because of drug-induced changes in physiological functions, cognitive ability, and mood. A footnote in DOJ's brief also argues that the Biden administration's ongoing move to reschedule marijuana would not undermine the current statute. The Justice Department has claimed in multiple federal cases over the past several years that the statute banning cannabis consumers from owning and possessing guns is constitutional because it's consistent with the nation's history of disarming dangerous individuals. You guys can read the rest of this at our website, high99news.com, because this is a very long, monotonous brief that just lets us know they don't want us to have guns, which is insane because, once again, constitutional law is equal protection under the Constitution, and we look at other societies, when they disarm the people, what happens? The government takes over. If the bad guys are the only ones with guns and the bad guys are the government, I don't want to live here anymore. I'm going to Italy. Amalfi Coast, here I come. Pew, pew.
Interesting.
I want to hear Dale's opinion, though, Dale. I mean, like, what would you, if you were taking this lawsuit up, what would your argument be specifically?
Well, the Bruin case took away, I don't know, a century's worth of gun restrictions. And they said, no, nonsense. We're going to look at what it says in the amendment, which is the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Pretty simple. And they pointed them back to when the Constitution Amendment was enacted in 1791. How was it dealt with then? And a lot of the things going on now, like felons, can't have guns. Back in the day, if you were a felon, they hung you. You weren't alive as a felon because it was a capital offense. So now they have to look at other things, and they're stretching to find other comparisons because no one gave two shits about whether you used drugs in 1791. Or even you could buy heroin from the Sears and Roebuck catalog by the end of the 1800s. Okay? So there was no historical precedent. If you got shit-faced drunk and went out and shot the town up, like on Tombstone, they take your guns away until you sobered up. But a lot of this, the rest of this stuff, I think the government was was put in its place, and they're now scrambling to find rationalizations for taking our guns away. I mean, I lost my gun rights when they convicted me. In fact, I lost them when they indicted me because they took them all. My kids all have them, or my sons do, and I'm not ever going to get them back. And it's irritating as hell because I used to have a concealed weapons permit issued by the sheriff because I was working with law enforcement to go after bad guys, and now I can't even own a gun. And it's not right. Just because I'm a felon, I was a non-violent felon. Why would I lose my gun rights?
I totally agree with that.
Because we say so. We don't want you to have them. You. And the same thing. I smoke weed. So what? I eat mushrooms, take an acid. So what? I've been sex with wild and crazy girls. Does that make me not qualified now to have a gun too? Come on.
Wow, Dale.
Yeah.
Nonsense. Read it. It says that I'll be a friend. Hey, I was in the Navy, man. We still go on shore leave. I'm not going to drop any names. But
coastal communities.
Dale lived a life.
California girls at every port.
Sheep dip and double rubber. That was what I told all the Marines.
Damn.
Oh, man.
Double bag Dale is what we're going to call him from now
After
on.
I gave you a shot for penicillin, it's like, I don't care what she looked like. Sheep dip and double rubber, dude, because you're getting a shot in the head.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man.
Yes.
The 60s and 70s.
Clip that, please.
Oh, yeah, Jenny Beth, we got some shit to talk about, girl.
All right. I'm here for it. I love the war stories and the peacetime stories, too, apparently.
Hey, man. Everybody needs love.
Off duty, but still on duty.
Still doing the duty.
Oh, my God.
There we go. All right. Oh, man.
So, I mean,
I don't know. I'm so sick of this gun argument. I really am. Please let us have our guns. Like,
I just can't.
It's not, if we're deciding that it's about illegal drugs and you're in a state that allows you to legally possess and consume it, especially for medicinal purposes, like, I think that illegal drug argument is kind of heading out the window. I get federal illegality. I really do. But I'm just.
I mean, but let's keep it real. Do gun laws really keep guns out of the hands of people that shouldn't have them?
No, they just keep registered guns out of the hands of people that shouldn't have them.
Yeah, so like to me, the gun restriction doesn't even make sense in the first place. It's all strictly for optics, for people to have a political wedge.
It's just a surprise.
You know what's really, what's really interesting is the states with the most minimalistic gun laws. Those are where the guns come from, in the places where they're most restricted, right? So a lot of the illegal guns in New York and they've been traced to New York and the more liberal states. They come from Florida. They come from all these red states that have super open gun laws. So I mean, there's a lot more of this data that the DOJ, if they really wanted to do their jobs, which they never will, they can dig into. They can get to the root of some of this shit. Right? But they're not going to do it. They just want to take away people's rights. So this is trash. Absolutely.
Well, Rico, my aunt just texted me again. You're gonna love this.
Aunt Linda's on a roll. We love you, Aunt Linda.
She says the right.
Put on me, Auntie.
Yeah, she says the right to own a gun is so you can protect yourself from the government.
Damn straight, Aunt Linda. I knew I loved her. Yep.
But what? Hey, and I really don't mean this as a joke, like I at all. I mean, with what happened with Trump this past weekend, this is crazy. I think it's absolutely crazy that this happens to somebody who just might as well be the president in a couple of months again, and nobody's even talking about it. Everybody's talking about the failure of Secret Service, the failure to stop this dude. You got people on the right that are saying that they are saying that it's a setup, and then you have people on the left saying that is a setup. But nobody's talking about these gun issues that are at the top of mind of everybody when the damn presidential candidate got shot.
I don't think the issue is
where are our priorities?
I don't think the issue is with guns. I think the issue is with mentally unstable people getting access to guns.
I'm 100% for giving someone a mental health screening before selling them a fucking gun, because the gun didn't shoot Trump. The psycho holding the gun shot
Exactly.
Trump. My gun has never shot me, not once.
No. You're trying to. What I'm saying is you're trying to sidestep the issue. The issue here, right? Like all this gun talk and everything. You got Hunter Biden and his ordeal that he's going through. You got all these
Hunter Biden is a crackhead.
Hold on. And then this is directly tied to the shit that we're talking about right here, right? And then the president's getting shot too. Like we need to actually have this adult conversation and stop taking these side steps and blaming things that it ain't.
Okay, well, let's have the adult conversation. The UK has banned guns, right? So what are they doing? They have these giant fucking machete things, and they're chopping each other the fuck up. I mean, crazy people are going to do crazy shit no matter what tool you put in their hands to do it. But if there's a crazy person coming at me with a gun, I'm more comfortable that I have mine to come back with.
No, nobody said that. Nobody even took it there. Well,
she did.
I took it there. We were talking about weapons.
Hold on. It's not about just mental health. We got this shit going on everywhere. And then if you want to take it to the mental health route, like nobody is doing anything to assist mental health in a tangible way in this nation.
I agree.
We got a whole lot of issues here. And instead of just blaming it on the right, blame it on the fucking left, how about we just have a real sit down and talk about what can be done rather than just trying to point fingers, because it ain't gonna happen that way.
Boy, we got Aunt Linda on her box.
I do not believe that that anybody should be have their rights to own a gun restricted. When you have ex-military everywhere, you got all these folks everywhere saying that weapons of war should not be readily available to just anybody anywhere. Like, we got to have that real conversation, man. This is real talk.
Oh, but the conversation, the Supreme Court put it back onto the simple language of the Second Amendment. And if you don't like the Second Amendment, you can amend the Constitution.
Right.
Okay. Otherwise, people have a right to keep and bear arms. Whether we like it or not, the old balancing acts of balance of the state versus the individual, that was all thrown in the trash by the Supreme Court with the Bruen case. No. Read it, go back and look how it was handled in 1791, and that's our starting point. And unless you've got some other reason to restrict somebody's gun rights, the answer is don't. Now, you're not going to get a lot of help from those kinds of positions in trying to weigh and balance, factors like mental health and shit like that. There's going to have to be a judicial finding that someone is a danger to themselves or others, and those statutes exist in many states before you can restrict them. And I tell my friends who want to limit guns, it's like, well, yeah, but read the amendment. It's pretty clear. And if you want things to be different, you have to change what the amendment says. And the Supreme Court has focused clearly on very clear language. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Period. If you don't like that, then you can change the Constitution, or we have to find ways to deal with this within the tools we have. Ronald Reagan cut mental health people loose in California and set them on the streets. Now they live in fucking tents under bridges everywhere, and we don't seem to know what the hell to do with them. And some of them talk to the moon. You give them a gun, they're liable to shoot you. How do we prevent that?
We also
beat up their wife to kill them.
Well, we also took all the mental health care out of the prison system in California because it's expensive, and we don't care about fixing people.
No, we warehouse them and hire incompetents to watch them. I can tell you, I was warehoused. There were fucking incompetents watching me. It was a joke system that I was thrown into for 5 years.
Dale had the store open.
And that was all. And like you said, Dale, that came from Republican God himself, Ronald Reagan.
I don't know if I would go that far, but
well, yeah,
no one's perfect, Rico. No one's perfect.
LPS statute here in California grew out of closing down mental institutions, and they should have. There were too many people mentally institutionalized, and they needed to clear them out. But it's either all or nothing is what we do in this country with politics. And they just opened the doors and threw them all out. And it's like, now what do we do with them? Well, I don't know. It's your problem. Well, that's not an answer to what we do with people who are mentally ill. We just don't want to come up with a solution to that. So you're right. We throw them in jail. It was like Andy of Mayberry. The drunk came in, he got drunk, locked himself in jail, and the next morning he sobered up, walked away. That's not a way to handle alcoholism, but it worked for the show. And that's what we do now with crazy people. I was in prison with a lot of people that were mentally ill.
Mm-hmm.
And they did criminal acts because they were mentally ill.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I don't think they deserve to be in prison, but that's the system we got.
Yep. There's gonna be a whole lot more thoughts and prayers coming up every single week, and we get another issue. So, anyways, yeah, interesting conversation, man, and it's not gonna stop anytime soon. So, and I'm not taking shots at the right at all, not even a little bit.